It all started one quiet evening. I was sitting on the couch, flipping through channels, while my wife, Megan, sat on the opposite end, glued to her phone. The glow of the screen lit up her face, and I noticed her smiling at something, a kind of smile I hadn't seen in years. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she was looking at funny memes or chatting with a friend. But as days turned into weeks, her behavior became different. Megan and I had been married for 12 years. We'd built a life together, shared dreams, and faced challenges as a team. Or so I thought. Recently, though, there had been a growing distance between us. She was more guarded with her phone, turning the screen away whenever I walked into the room. She'd laugh at messages she wouldn't share, and her late nights working started to raise questions in my mind. I brushed it off at first, not wanting to jump to conclusions. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. One Friday night, she told me she had to stay late at work again. She gave me a kiss on the cheek, said not to wait up, and left. I sat there, staring at the door after she closed it, a knot forming in my stomach. It wasn't jealousy, it was something deeper, something primal. My instincts told me there was more to this story than just overtime. That night, I decided to investigate. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't sit in the dark any longer. I logged into our shared phone account and looked at her call logs. One number stood out. It appeared almost every day, sometimes late at night, sometimes during her lunch breaks. My hands shook as I jotted it down. I had no idea who it belonged to, but I intended to find out. The next day, while Megan was out, I called the number from a private line. A man answered. "Hello." His voice was casual, friendly. I froze, not knowing what to say, and quickly hung up. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of it. Who was he? A coworker? A friend? Or something more? The following weeks were a blur of suspicion and quiet observation. Megan's behavior only confirmed my fears. She'd dress up more than usual for work meetings, and there were nights she'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. My mind raced with possibilities, but I kept my suspicions to myself. I needed proof before I confronted her. That's when I decided to hire a private investigator. It felt extreme, even invasive, but I couldn't live in uncertainty any longer. The PI was professional and discreet, and within a week, he provided me with everything I needed. Photos, timestamps, locations. Megan wasn't staying late at work. She was meeting a man named Alex at a hotel downtown. The photos showed them laughing, holding hands, and even kissing. It was like a dagger to my heart. I sat in my car for hours that night, staring at the evidence. Anger, betrayal, sadness, it all hit me at once. But amidst the storm of emotions, a sense of clarity emerged. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to confront her, scream, or beg for explanations. No, I was going to walk away, on my terms. Over the next few days, I started to make my plans. I opened a new bank account, withdrew my half of the savings, and found a small apartment across town. I packed my things gradually, taking a few items each day so she wouldn't notice. I wanted the moment I left to be a shock, a wake-up call she wouldn't see coming. The night I walked out was like any other. Megan was on her phone, laughing at something, completely unaware of what was about to happen. I stood in the doorway of the living room, suitcase in hand, and watched her for a moment. It struck me how distant she'd become, how little she noticed me anymore. "Megan," I said, my voice steady. She looked up, startled. "What's with the suitcase?" she asked, her smile fading. "I'm leaving," I said plainly. Her eyes widened. "What? Why? Where are you going?" I took a deep breath. "I know about Alex. I know about the hotels, the lies, everything." Megan's face went pale. "I can explain," she stammered, but I held up a hand to stop her. "Don't," I said. "I don't want to hear your excuses. You made your choices, and now I'm making mine." For a moment, she just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing as if searching for the right words. But there was nothing she could say. The truth was out, and there was no undoing it. I turned and walked out the door, not looking back. The cool night air hit me as I stepped outside, and for the first time in months, I felt free. The weight of suspicion, doubt, and betrayal had been lifted. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but at least it would be honest. In the weeks that followed, Megan tried to reach out. She called, texted, even showed up at my new apartment once. But I didn't answer. I'd said everything I needed to say that night. My silence was my closure. As time went on, I began to rebuild my life. I focused on work, reconnected with old friends, and even started therapy to process everything I'd been through. It wasn't easy, but I learned to find peace in my own company. One day, months after I'd left, I received a letter from Megan. She apologized, admitted to everything, and begged for another chance. She wrote about how she'd taken me for granted, how she'd let herself get swept up in something meaningless. She said she missed me, that she'd do anything to fix things. I read the letter once, then folded it and put it away. Forgiveness was one thing, but going back was another. I'd spent too long living in the shadow of her lies. I wasn't about to lose myself again. Looking back, I realized that leaving Megan wasn't just about escaping her betrayal. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my sense of self. And for that, I'll always be grateful, not to her, but to myself for having the courage to walk away when it mattered most.